What's up, everyone? Back for some more Marvel Legends, and today we are digging back into the vintage retro style figures that they've been putting out because I got some doubles. So I've got my two full vintage sets, one to open and one to keep sealed. We're going to do Spider-Man today. So this is same kind of card back we've seen. We've got the Amazing Spider-Man logo up at the top. We got some Spider-Man artwork on the side, and then we got a bit of a write-up, and then the rest of the figures. Again, I really dig this packaging. That's why I went out and got two sets. I wanted to make sure that if I opened them, I could get some carded ones just in case. You never know what is or isn't really going to be rare these days. So let's pull them out, take a look. All right, guys, so here is everyone's favorite wall crawler out of the package. And this is kind of of the more recent Marvel Legends, this is kind of one of the more mythical figures because this is mostly Pizza Spidey, and he came out a while back, and he was really hard to find. It was kind of before I really cared about Legends again, and I never tried to track him down anyway, but this is kind of the Spider-Man that people were after for quite a while, and I'd say for the most part for pretty good reason, because it is a pretty cool Spider-Man, and it is a nice body for Spider-Man, so that's good, and it all around is a pretty decent looking figure. I'm not sure that it is my perfect Spider-Man, but for what it is, it's okay. And the particular paint scheme that they went with here is a little more retro, so it fits the style of what they're going for here. And we do get a couple accessories. We don't get the full range of accessories that the original Pizza Spidey got, but that's kind of the trade-off that we seem to be getting with these figures. So I never got this Spider-Man, like I mentioned. I don't really have very many Spider-Man. I've got maybe 3. This will be 4 now, I think. Maybe 5. I don't know. I can't remember. I don't have very many, and I don't really have a classic Spider-Man until now, so this is kind of a good way for me to get a hold of him. As far as the figure itself goes, we will run down articulation real quick because, like I said, the figure is new to me. Head can swivel. We got a disc hinge there, so we go up and down all around. We do have a butterfly joint, which I love these, especially when they're painted correctly, and this is pretty good. It lines up really well for the most part, so you get full, wide range of motion. I love that kind of joint. They go up. They're still really tight. They go up and around, all in that socket, bicep swivel. Double joints at the elbow. This is a holdover from the original release, I do believe. We do have mismatched color pegs in the arms, which does bug the hell out of me. I know that's not an articulation thing, but that's probably my one big negative with this figure. So yeah, there they are. We've got hinge and swivel at the wrists. We've got an ab crunch that works really, really well, which is good for Spider-Man. If you go all the way back, you do see a weird little gap, but I kind of have him hunched forward for the most part, and I think it looks really good to give him kind of a fluid, buggy kind of look. He does have the waist twist, but it's the kind that I don't particularly like because he's so thin that, twist him too far, and he definitely looks really weird. I don't even like one click, really. I kind of try to do them just forward-facing. Legs can go out only about that far. Really high kick. Pretty good on the back as well. Thigh cut, of course. Double joints at the knees, and they go kick himself in the butt all the way back. There is nothing at the boot or the shin. He does have a rocker and a hinge at that ankle, though. So, for the most part, he is articulated well enough for a Spider-Man, I think. And, you should have seen, if you're watching the video by now, you saw this is kind of how I had him posed when we started. And that's rather dynamic, at least for having him flat-footed on the shelf. And you can see there's a lot of motion. You've got the butterfly joint fully engaged, and he can be posed pretty well. So I'm relatively happy with how much he moves. Now, as far as paint goes, he does have a decent bit. We've got paint on the legs, obviously. All the webbing is obviously painted. There's no real way around that. And it's pretty clean for the most part. I don't have any real issues. The spider emblem is painted well on the chest and the back, except for one little dot on the chest emblem. Probably can't pick it up. It's really, really tiny, just like a pinhole. But for the most part, it's all right. I don't have any real issues. There are some issues with just paint color matching, though, from time to time. It might be hard to pick up, and this you really got to get in there and pay attention. But there are molded blues and there are painted blues, and there are molded reds and painted reds. But for the most part, it's the blues. So like on the arm here, this part is molded, this blue is painted, and they don't match 100%. So, under the lights, I can really see it. You probably can't. I don't think it's going to pick it up that well, but just know that it's there. It doesn't really bother me, but it's a thing, so let's talk about it. And then we've got those painted eyes, and they are pretty white, pretty clean. They're definitely forward-facing. No derpiness there. That would be very off-putting. As far as the sculpt goes, I am pretty happy with him. Again, it's a decent body for Spider-Man. I do think he should be a little beefier. He's not, that thin. That's pretty thin. My current favorite Spider-Man body, and it only, it's a specific Spider-Man, is the more recent Spider 2099. I love that body on that Spider-Man. That's the same body we saw with Bullseye and Sunfire. I think it works better on the Spider-Man, but that's just my personal preference. I think that he could be a little beefier, but for the most part, the sculpt is really nice. I mean, it's just a body. There's nothing else here. We do have a thwipping hand for web slinging, and then he has an open style bowed hand. He doesn't come with any extra hands. That was one of the things the original Pizza Spidey came with, was a handful of hands. I think he came with like the opposite hands for both sides, and then I think he came with fists as well. Like I said, I don't have him, and I didn't really do my research because I don't need to. I think they are basically the same figure except for a lack of accessories and different hues of color, because this is going for a more retro look in terms of the actual color of the suit. Now, as far as accessories goes, he does come with a couple. So he doesn't come with all the hands that we got in the original release, but he does come with the extra head, as you can see here, and it's just him pulling the mask up over his nose because he's going to eat this piece of pizza. So he does come with the slice of pizza, and it is meant to sit in the left hand. It's actually molded in such a way that some of the cheese falling off the slice fits around the fingers. So it's kind of a good use of that particular hand as a holding hand. Pizza is sculpted decently enough. It looks kind of like they baked it a little too long. Pepperoni looks kind of burnt to me. But, I mean, it's pizza, so you can't go wrong there. It's not on the NECA level of pizza detail, but I like it well enough. The problem for me, though, is that I'm never going to display him like this. I'm just not. It doesn't fit my aesthetic for my shelf, and I bought him for the retro style anyway. So I can applaud them for trying this and it being a cool thing that people like, but it's not for me, and it doesn't have to be. But I like the inclusions. It's always good to have more rather than have less. So at the end of the day, this is a pretty solid figure. If you missed Pizza Spidey the first time around, and you don't necessarily need all of the hands that he came with, then this is definitely the way to go. He's going to be easier to get. He's slightly different in paint scheme, but for the most part, it's exactly the same still, just slightly different. Solid figure all around, and, if you're not into it, just to open him up and play around with him, he's a great looking figure in that retro packaging, and of course, that's a huge draw for a lot of people, myself included. That's why I got two. So that is going to do it for this look at the vintage Marvel Legends Spider-Man from Hasbro. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time, everyone.